This is breaking news from WCCO.
Good afternoon. The family of George Floyd and attorneys representing them are about to speak, and this comes after a nearly 4-hour hearing this morning for the 4 officers charged in Floyd's death. Let's listen in.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer McGuffin. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for the law firm of Romanucci and Blandon. You will have comments on today's criminal hearing from attorneys representing the Floyd family and then from several members of the family themselves. You will hear from attorney Ben Crump, Antonio Romanucci, Jeff Storms, Chris Stewart, and Justin Miller, along with Phalonis, Roger, and Terrence Floyd. Let me turn it over, please, to attorney Ben Crump.
Good afternoon. I am attorney Ben Crump, along with attorney Tony Romanucci, attorney Chris Stewart, attorney Justin Miller, attorney Jeff Storms, attorney Michelle Gabeau, and attorney Scott Masterson. We have the honor of representing the family of George Floyd, who are present here with us today. We have his brothers and his sisters, his cousins, his uncle, his aunt, all coming here to Minnesota to declare we demand justice for George Floyd Jr. Listen. Thank you, Ben. You know, we just sat through a very emotional hearing where people tried to kill George Floyd a second time. Listen. They made all kind of foolish allegations, talking about he died from a drug overdose. No better. Exactly. They're trying to claim the knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds had nothing to do with his death. They are trying to say that the knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds was reasonable. They are trying to claim some asinine theory about an overdose. I want to be clear about this. The only overdose that killed George Floyd was an overdose of excessive force and racism by the Minneapolis Police Department. Ladies and gentlemen, this follows the same narrative that they try to use when they kill unarmed black people during this COVID-19 pandemic, like Breonna Taylor, like Dijon Kinsey in Los Angeles, like Trayford Pellerin in Lafayette, Louisiana, and like how they shot Jacob Blake Jr. 7 times in the back in front of his children. And then they try to accuse the people who were trying to get away from them, who was trying to de-escalate the situation as the reason for what happened. This family, they saw what happened. Yeah. You all, Minneapolis, y'all saw what happened. Yeah. America saw what happened. The world saw what happened. And so, who are you going to believe, your eyes or these killer cops? Who are you going to believe, your eyes or these killer cops? Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of introducing to you some great lawyers who's going to address you, and then we're going to introduce George Floyd family, who came to be here in the courtroom to make sure they wouldn't stand idly by while they assassinated his character. We have a great lawyer who hails from Chicago, Illinois, who's going to address you next, and whose name is Tony Romanucci. And then after that, we're going to have a pair of great lawyers who hail from Atlanta, Georgia, Attorney Chris Stewart and Attorney Justin Miller. And then we will have a great lawyer on our team who hails from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that's Jeff Storms. So please give your attention to Attorney Tony Romanucci.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, everybody. Say his name, George Floyd!
George Floyd.
Because what we heard in that courtroom today was desperation. Desperation brings desperate defenses, people. Did you hear what they said? That their level of force was reasonable. 8 minutes, a knee on the neck. The video says what it says. That is unreasonable force. George was handcuffed. He was prone. He was lying face down. He was compliant. He was situational. He had situational awareness. And they dare to claim that their level of force was reasonable when they caused his death. Homicide. The medical examiner said that's what it was. And that's desperation, people. Don't listen to anything that they say about what George was. He was anything but the man that you saw he was, and what this family will tell you. What killed him was the knee on the neck. The knee on the neck. The knee on the neck. That's what killed him, and that's what makes it unreasonable. Don't listen to the words. Believe it with your own eyes. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Attorney Chris Stewart.
First, let me thank this beautiful family for even allowing us to utter George's name. And one thing that y'all should remember is the solidarity, the beauty of this family is if George is a piece of that rock, then everything you hear in that courtroom is garbage. And we have to realize that we had the honor and the sadness of letting Gianna Floyd meet Rayshard Brooks' daughter a few weeks ago in our office. And as I watched them playing together, both having lost fathers within weeks, it hit me when I told them that it was going to be okay, because I realized that I was lying to children. Because I don't know if we get justice anymore in these situations. I don't know how extreme the murder must be for us not to have to fight to get justice. I thought it was over Walter Scott with that heinous incident, and that wasn't enough. And now we see the tactics that they're going to go to in this by trying to take down his name with lies and misinformation, hoping that one juror will get distracted, that one juror will lose faith. But that's why we all have to unify and understand that the only way all of this madness ends is understanding the truth, and you see it standing behind us. The beauty standing behind us. So stay strong throughout this. Don't listen to any of the misinformation to try and get you to change your mind. And remember the beauty that you see right here and the beauty of the children. Thank y'all.
Next we will hear from Attorney Justin Miller.
What do we want? And when do we want it? Right now. The NFL started yesterday. The NBA is playing in the finals right now. Major League Baseball is back. Hockey's back. The country is coming back. We're all coming back out of our holes. But what we're doing right now, right here today, what this family's going through, what all of you are experiencing, and what we are dealing with as well,
is more important than all of that. All I wanted to say today is this. You look at this little girl right here with this pink jacket on. We need to make the world a better place for her. For her. Because we have already failed this family and Rayshard Brooks' family and Breonna Taylor's family and all of the other families. We failed them. Let's not fail that little girl. Thank y'all.
Next, we will hear from your own Minneapolis, Minnesota, our local council attorney, Jeff Storms.
It's a sad anniversary in Minneapolis this week. 10 years ago this week, the Minneapolis Police Department killed a man by the name of David Smith. They kneeled on his back, handcuffed him, didn't let him breathe, and killed him. Several months ago, his sister called me and said, Jeff, when we settled that case, Minneapolis promised us it would train its officers. It promised us it would do better. It promised us David's death would mean something. And the entire world saw that Minneapolis did not fulfill that promise. And we have another heartbroken family here because of that failure. There were 4 defendants sitting in there today, but there's a 5th empty chair. The city of Minneapolis should be sitting in that chair. They should have trained their officers. They should have fulfilled their promise to the Smith family. They should not have killed George. And they should not have ruined the many lives that they have as a result of those failures. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from some great attorneys who are professional people who deal with these tragedies all the time. I'm about to introduce you to some people who don't deal with this as a career. They don't know George Floyd as a hashtag. They know him as their big brother, who they slept in the bed with at night, who comfort them, the person who was their role model. And so this may get very emotional because they listen to a lot of lies about George Floyd in that courtroom. So I want you to give them the charity of your undivided attention as they try to speak from the heart. We first will have his brother from Houston, Texas, Rodney Floyd.
You know, we sat in this courtroom and we heard so many lies about my brother, George Floyd. They saying he died from a drug overdose. They saying that he was non-compliant. Floyd, oh, that's my brother, you guys. Let me tell you, he's an uncle. He's a father. He's a friend. Pillar of his community in Houston, Texas. Everybody loved George where he's from, and Minnesota, the people of Minnesota loved him too. The people that got to know him. And one thing about George, he will want us to get his justice for him. And them officers saying that drug overdose killed him, that did not kill him. That officer, the only one that was getting high, my brother begging for his life. That's the only one I saw getting high. That's my brother begged for his life for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Begging his man, take your foot off my neck, give me some water, let me breathe. And they say when someone's dying, you know, they have visions, something close that they love so dearly. And he called out for mama. And you know, one thing, when we all get in trouble, male or female, we gonna call out mama. Cause mama gonna make us feel so much better. Take the situation away. So my brother screamed and called out for mom. That hurt me so dearly, that traumatic hunting video. Have to watch that video, hearing them see that, and my daughter called me. My daughter, 9 years old, called me on the phone, FaceTime me. I tried to hide this from her, but it found her. She called me crying and said, Dad, I'm so sorry for your brother's loss. hurts deeply. And you know, I didn't even know what to say to her. I just did what her dad would do, what my mom would have did for me. That's what my brother called out for. Just comfort her, try to make her feel better, change the subject. But she just cried. I'm just looking at her laughing like, oh, look at my baby, she's so beautiful. So strong in this situation. She's trying to comfort me in our situation. So, again, Floyd, I know she's going to miss Floyd dearly. He was a great man, brother, uncle, father, friend, pillar of his community. That's the George Floyd I know. And I wish you guys would have got to know him as that person as well, not the person they're trying to paint him to be. Do not let them paint their picture and their narrative on Floyd, because Floyd narrated his death, if y'all listen to that video. So thank you guys for coming out, for the support. Love y'all, Minneapolis. Thank y'all.
And
we got your back. We got your back. We got your back.
thank you. And Rodney, thank you for that emotional plea for justice. Next, we will hear from his other brother from Houston, Texas, Phalonis Floyd.
The world witnessed the live execution of George. Everybody watched him scream for his mom. He pleaded for help, and nobody cared. They kept their knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Nobody tried. People cried. The officers, they did what they wanted to do because they thought that that was justice. Just sitting here, being in Minnesota, is hard. 9/11, we shouldn't have to be here because of George. George should be alive. He didn't die of natural causes. He died because of a knee being on his neck. The autopsy said he died of asphyxiation. That's what the autopsy said. He did not die of an overdose. Man. I ask that everybody stand with us in solidarity as we tirelessly go through everything that we have to go through with the court. Because they're going to prolong this as long as they can, because they have no ability at all to say that that video was right. That was wrong. They killed him. This is worldwide. The nation is standing behind us, and we all need to come together and realize that we need to stop this. This is wrong. We need justice, and we demand that.
All right. Next, we have another one of George's brothers, all the way from New York City, Terrence Floyd.
Peace, everybody, peace. Oh, man. The last time I was out here was when it first happened, and I made that trip from New York to come to the site. And there was a lot of looting going on, and it was just tearing up cities and stuff like that. And I was speaking, I was saying, keep it peaceful. Protest, let your voice be heard, but keep it peaceful. I'm still saying that. even though I'm standing here with my family, and I'm angry. After what I heard in that courtroom, it's unbelievable. Because where I'm from, and I know where some of y'all from, if it was one of us that killed the other person, it wouldn't be no hearing. It wouldn't be no. It would have been an open and shut case. Open and shut. That's it. That's it. But here we are in a hearing over something that we saw happen. I don't believe this, and I just, oh man. The one thing I want is accountability. Growing up, that's what I was taught. Be accountable for your actions. If you do the crime, you do the time. So why is it different for these guys? It shouldn't be different. And it will not be different, because we will get justice for my brother. Thank you.
Before we hear from the last family member, you heard from his 3 brothers. George also had 3 beautiful sisters who couldn't be with us today. One of them, Bridget Floyd, had flight delays. She's in the city, but she couldn't get here. So we want to let you all know his sisters stand in complete solidarity with his brothers. Also his sisters, Latanya and Jaja from Houston, Texas. They stand in complete solidarity, and they want to thank you, Minneapolis, for standing with them. And on behalf of all of his children who are far too young to have to be here to witness these accusations about their father, on behalf of his family, they thank you all on behalf of his children, all of his children as well. So remember, George was an incredible father who loved all of his children, and but for that knee on his neck, would be here being the big, lovable daddy for them to jump on and hug and kiss and ride his back. So we would never let that go unnoticed. The last family member that we have is not a brother or sister or not a child. He's a nephew, but he was like a son of his Uncle George. They talk on a regular basis. I mean, George would text him about everything going on in his life. So it's appropriate that we end with Brandon Williams bringing greetings to you all, Minneapolis, Black Lives Matter, and the activists. Brandon Williams.
First, I just want to say thank you to the city of Minnesota. We appreciate you guys. You know, last night was probably one of the most difficult nights I've had in a while since this has happened. You know, growing up in the same house with Floyd, we had a real special connection. And a lot of that connection came from sports. Growing up, I played sports. He was a standout athlete, and we had a real strong connection through sports. And even with him being in Minneapolis and me being in Houston, during the sports season, particularly the NBA and NFL, you know, we would talk at night after the games. And, you know, we would just kind of just catch up and talk a lot of sports talk. And as I mentioned before, he was a real big LeBron fan. You know, and if you're watching the NBA right now, the Lakers are playing our hometown Houston Rockets. And, you know, they're getting the better of us. So, you know, he would probably, you know, crack some jokes and let me hear some trash talk about it. And, you know, after the game last night, being here in Minnesota, you know, the first thing I did after the game was think about, you know, talking to George. And you know, that's when it kind of hit me like, you know, there's times like this when I really miss him the most. Just a simple phone call or a laugh, you know, it brightens up the day. He would brighten up any day. You know, and I woke up this morning feeling a lot better. You know, and then I get here to this hearing, and to hear them assassinate his character, it kind of put me back in the mindset of where I was last night. You know, to hear those accusations and the foolishness, and it was crazy. I couldn't bear it. You know, my uncle was nothing like the guy they're trying to make him to be. Y'all take his life in broad daylight on camera, and then my family has to sit in the courtroom and hear that foolishness on top of all of that. You know, it's hurting and disrespectful. You know, so I think more than anything, we appreciate everybody coming together and standing with us. You know, and all of the support, you know, to see the Black Lives Matter movements and people of all colors just coming together standing for what's right, because what happened to my uncle was not right. That was a murder. You know, so to come out here and see everybody standing in solidarity with us, you know, it uplifts us. You know, but we want justice. We want change. It has to be better policing. They have to stop killing us.
All right.
That's all we want. Thank you.
And as the attorneys come and answer questions, Minneapolis, let this family know again, we got your back. 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 Lawyers, we'll take some questions.
Mr. Crump, I'm Cal with the Star Tribune. At the hearing today, 3 of the defense attorneys said they wanted to bring in evidence regarding a 2019 Minneapolis case, a 2007 Texas case involving George. The judge said no to the Texas case is irrelevant. He said no for now on the Minneapolis case, but maybe we'll revisit that at trial. What do you think about the...
Repeat that last part of the question.
The judge said no to the Texas case being brought in, maybe to the Minnesota case, depending what happens at trial. What are your thoughts on the allegations made in those 2 cases against George? One attorney said it showed that he was, quote, a violent person.
Well, all I would say, when you look at that video, the only people who are being violent on that video is the Minneapolis Police Department. When you watch that video, you see George being the person, seem like he's de-escalating the situation. I mean, that video is very telling because it's emblematic of every black person in America who is trying to justify to the police that you don't have to kill me. That's what you hear when George Floyd is telling them, I'm not that type of guy. I don't know if any of the other counselors want to address it.
What does violence have to do with this situation? They tell you comply. He was complying. He was begging. He was crying. He was screaming. He was... What more do you want to show non-violence? So to try and bring violence into a situation where he was being actually harmless in his actions and pleading, it's no relevance. And I think at the real trial, the judge is still going to not let it in.
And I just want to add, this is what happens every single time. We get killed, and then we get killed again in court. So you're getting killed multiple times for no reason. So this is what we want to stop. An assassination, and then a character assassination. That has to end.
Ben, what about this idea that some of the defense is making that George overdosed on drugs? It came up several times. What's your response to that?
I'm going to have my co-counsel, Tony Romanucci, take that in. It's asinine, but... Yeah.
As I said earlier, it's really a desperate defense. It's like a reality show, desperate defenses. That overdose that they're claiming is that is the false narrative in this case. There is no doubt that he died from mechanical asphyxiation. They want to coincidentally say that whatever drugs were in his system killed him at the same time that the knee on the neck and the pressure on his back killed him. And that's the falsity of this. So when you look at this from a legal perspective, the causation perspective, those drugs did nothing to him because we know that he had situational awareness. He was cooperative. He was begging to do what we all are doing as a matter of right, and that is breathing. He wanted an oxygen exchange between his brain and his lungs, and he was denied that when he asked, please, may I breathe? That drug defense is desperate, it will fail, and it's false.
What do you think about the change in
I will say this, and let's be clear about this. The only overdose that killed George Floyd was an overdose of excessive force and racism by the Minneapolis Police Department. Let's just be clear about that. All right, a few more questions.
What do you think about the other arguments made, the push to change the venue, also the push to trial for former officers?
Okay.
What's your opinion on
We're going to have Jeff Storms address that, and about the change of venue. We'll have Attorney Scott Masterson address the issue with the 4 officers being tried at once or not.
The goal in them trying to change venue is to try to find as many jurors as they can find that don't look like George Floyd. And that is the only goal. The only goal, and let me take my mask off just so y'all can hear me. Everyone's so way. The only goal they have in trying to change venues is to get as many jurors as possible who do not look like George Floyd. They don't want jurors that look like you. No, they do not.
Scott Masterson will answer the question about whether they have joined her or they try them separately. They are bringing that question up, Scott.
I'll be brief. Guilty is guilty.
All right, one last question, then we got to go. Yes, ma'am. Last question. It is a blatant attempt to kill George Floyd a second time. They kill a person and then they assassinate our character. And that will not hold because everybody saw that video, not just across Minneapolis, not just across Minnesota, not just across America, but all across the world. The whole world is watching. 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 Hey, before we go, we want to acknowledge one of George Floyd's sisters who just got off the plane from North Carolina. Y'all give it up for Bridget Floyd.
We love you, Queen. We love you.
Yeah, solidarity and respect.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
All right, you've been watching George Floyd's family and their attorneys, including Benjamin Crump here, speaking for the last 10-20 minutes or so outside the Family Justice Center in downtown Minneapolis. This comes after a nearly 4-hour hearing this morning where the judge looked at things like jury selection, jury privacy, trial location in the upcoming trial for the 4 ex-police officers charged in George Floyd's death. Attorney Crump said today's hearing was emotional. He said that some are trying to claim that Chauvin's knee on Floyd's neck was not the reason for his death, insinuating that drugs were involved, perhaps an overdose, and that was hurtful to the family. They expressed Rodney Floyd, George's brother from Houston, said George was an uncle, a father, and that he would want his family to fight for his justice. We heard from his other brother, Philonise Floyd, saying, you know, the world watched George's execution. That was the word he used, and none of the officers did anything to stop it. So he was wiping away tears. We heard from, you know, both of those brothers asking people to stand with their family as they go through this drawn out process of a trial. and they asked for protesters to make their voice heard peacefully. But we will have much more on today's hearing this afternoon on CBSN Minnesota and tonight at 5 and 6 on WCCO.